G'day there ladies and gents of the internet, I am the Braveheart Aussie and welcome to a journey in world building. And welcome to our first ever multi-part faction series here on the channel as we dive into other parts of the Galadur hegemony outside of the throne world itself. This is something of a natural expansion or sequel to that of our recent setting deep dive into Galadur as we explore one of the largest and most expansive areas under a single governance and control within the Dark Diaspora. In this episode, we're going to be examining the different key tributary and thrall worlds of the hegemony at a comparatively high level. At the time of the Dark Diaspora, there were almost 80 official worlds, colonies, planets, and other sort of formalized authorities that comprise the hegemony across the 3,500 light-year region, extending from Egolia through to the Gigantic Expanse and all the way to Koton. In total, the hegemony is home to almost 170 million people, so there's 70 million people that reside outside of the homeworld itself. The relationship between Galadur and the hegemony world is one of dominance versus submission or subservience, but the actual structural, economic and social relationship between the throne world and that of the colonies varies from world to world, depending on how they were added to the hegemony. In some cases, the world has a considerable amount of authority and independence, and its relationship with the hegemony is purely one of a tributary tax annually, or the delegation of foreign policy and military authority to that of the throne world. In other cases, the world is dominated or even run by hegemony bureaucratic apparatus or by megacorporation princelings, in which case it operates and functions merely as an extension of Galadur authorities themselves. And of course, there are worlds that sit anywhere along this spectrum, the extent to which they've resisted integration or even have potentially voluntarily submitted to the authority of the hegemony, often determining the extent to which they have been afforded ongoing autonomy and rights. This is not dissimilar to the approach that was adopted by the Khans and the Khanate out of Mongolia on Lost Earth, when they would approach cities with their armies and offer independence and security if the city voluntarily submitted. For the hegemony, this combination of overwhelming force and leniency of terms for those acquiescing to hegemony authority has proven an extremely attractive proposition to many, particularly those in the Gigantic Expanse, where life in those systems are extremely difficult, and the hegemony offers an element of interstellar security, if for no other reason that they are the biggest threat themselves to the independent powers of the Northwest Quadrant. So with that little bit of context out of the way, what we're going to do today is a very quick dive into each of the 10 main settings or planets within the hegemony and go through them one by one. There are over 80 worlds of note in the hegemony, so these 10 are probably what I would classify as the main worlds, or those that have a particular level of importance within the hegemony. And we're going to start with the largest of the non-Galadur hegemony worlds and settlements, and this includes the tributary worlds and the thrall worlds, as well as some larger population centers. We'll also examine some of the smaller, more discrete worlds, including some that have featured already as part of our lore series, particularly in early episodes as we use them as the setting for the exploration of certain concepts. And then finally, we'll examine different groupings of systems as they relate to core functions within the hegemony, particularly as larder worlds or mining outposts. The first planet is that of Ichvas. This planet is home to 10 million people and is located to the galactic northwest of Old Sol. It represents the northernmost boundary of the hegemony and was also the first planet to join Galadur as part of the hegemony. It was subject to a brief military invasion by hegemony forces, which sought out the planet because of its comparative capacity to generate base-level foodstuffs due to vast aquaponic systems fed through nutrient-rich freshwater oceans that ring the planet below the ice shell of the world, and also allow it to produce aquatic analogues that have been imported from other parts of the diaspora. At the time of the Dark Diaspora, Ichvas produces 80% of the fresh food consumed on Galadur itself, with the hydroponic domes established on the planet covering almost 1 billion hectares. Warmed by geothermal heat pumps and fed by ocean waters below the ice cap, the planet is well defended and automated pod launches between Ichvas and Galadur are prodigious and a source of significant anti-piracy focus by the Galadur Navy. The next planet is that of Egolia, which was the subject of our 8th lore episode called Fall of the False Prophet. The planet is a habitable colony world of Galadur and home to 500 settlements totaling approximately 5 million people. The planet operates as a mining colony that feeds base level raw materials to that of Galadur through expansive open cut mining operations as well as underground mining establishments. The tectonic stability of the planet struggles because of an extensive underground tunnel network populated by an indigenous arachnid creature, and so settlements function almost and are set up almost as walled communities. Large mining operations transfer millions of tons of ore to orbit for refining, both in orbit and of the planet as well as to the Galadur system itself. The next planet is that of Cancri, which has also been the focus of a lore episode. Particularly, this was the focus of lore episode 9 called Hope's Mine, in which the snowy green planet, reflecting the high concentration of copper in its regolith, was subject to significant failures of colonization attempts in the past. In this instance, the story told of the discovery by the main character of gadolinium, which was a rare earth critical for the creation and manufacturing of anti-gravity manifolds used by starships and pods to support faster than light travel. And this discovery helped to support the establishment of a growing population of 50,000 people on the planet at the time of the Dark Diaspora. Because of these exports of high quality resources, this has resulted in a significant increase in the quality of living and prosperity of the planet, which, despite its cold temperatures, is broadly habitable. The last of the settings that is the focus of our world building to date has been that of Koton. While not fully pacified, the Koton star system is within the control of the Hegemony and is also the current location of several Galadur Navy fleets, so represents the furthest extent of the Hegemony boundary at the time of the Dark Diaspora towards Old Sol. While once a highly technologically advanced planet with one of the highest standards of living in the Dark Diaspora, the world of Koton has subsequently seen a significant deterioration in that quality of living as the population of the moon has declined precipitously, and because of the aftermath of anti-gravity bomb planet busters, and the creation as a result of several gravity maelstroms across once populated parts of the world. At the time of the Dark Diaspora, Koton is home to about 6.2 million people. The remaining colony worlds of note are located within the Urantis expanse or in the outer edges of the inner halo. Several of the worlds have been identified as part of our Galadur Hegemony deep dive. Of particular note are the 3 Thrall worlds located in the western edge of the Urantis expanse, leading down to the southern boundary of the Hegemony, near that of Pluto and False Edge. The first of the Thrall worlds is Kobca, a semi-habitable swamp world with a population of about 4 million people spread across small settlements that rise slightly above the planetary-wide marshlands. This Thrall world was conquered by Hegemony forces, but by this time several senior advisors to the God King had been sourced from Kobca, owing to its series of courtier schools and academies, because of the community there needing to live indoors and therefore creating a significant demand for servants. As such, once the planet acquiesced to Galadur rule, it was identified as the first of the Thrall worlds, in which the most talented of the courtier graduates each year are placed in positions of authority and influence in Galadur society, and in particular operating within the court of the God King and other functionaries within the Gaia Dome of the Imperial Palace. The second Thrall world is that of Getsan Prime. This desert world is home to the Getsan Blood Drinkers, a series of nomadic hunting tribes that exist across the vast dry plains and undulating desert landscapes of the parched world. While there are expansive settlements built around several key freshwater seas, all of which are undersized but are home to almost 3 million people, the harsh nature of the world, coupled with significant megafauna threats of both insectoid and avian in nature, fostered a hunter-warrior culture being established, not dissimilar to that of Galadur, and resulted in the creation of some of the most effective hand-to-hand combat warriors in the galaxy. Subject to hegemony invasion, the world lacked any planetary defense, resulting in the hegemony quickly attaining full orbital superiority. Despite this, ground invasion proved incredibly challenging for the hegemony due to the prowess of local defenders, and not wanting to resort to full orbital bombardment, the hegemony offered the Thrall world status and domestic autonomy for the planet, which was readily accepted. And now the warriors of the world are represented in the Galadur military forces at a well above average rate, and several of the most successful gladiators of the last half a century have been immigrants and Thrall representatives from Getsan Prime. Halfway through our list now is the final of the three Thrall worlds, which is that of Onov. Home to 2 million people, the world is somewhat ancient and therefore comprises a broken landscape of extremely steep, sharp peaks that decline into deep river valleys that crisscross the planet. The lack of flat land has led to the establishment of a wide variety of anti-gravity assisted and traditional engineered mountainside settlements, along with significant underground accommodations. While the atmosphere is only marginally breathable and requires rebreathers for external living, this has been subject to significant terraforming and is expected that the atmosphere will be fully breathable within the next 2 centuries. Onov joined the Hegemony voluntarily, was actually one of the few planets to seek out membership in the Hegemony, owing to the planet securing significant engineering contracts for Hegemony-wide planetary expansion across Hegemony worlds, owing to significant engineering and industrial capabilities amongst the planet's workforce. While operating as a Thrall world in providing the very best and most talented planetary engineers to Hegemony worlds, these individuals effectively operate as highly paid indentured workers and technical specialists, rather than having the same level of career and placement restrictions that exist on the Thrall slaves of both Kobca and Getsan Prime. As such, of the 3 Thrall worlds, the planet continues to pay the largest of the monetary tributes to that of the Hegemony, and its southernmost position within the Hegemony, close to Fool's Edge, and other mercantile and industrial free worlds, means that the planet is seen as something of an industrial and trade gateway between the Hegemony and the southern west quadrant of the Dark Diaspora, in particular the Fringe World Alliance. The next world, and the second last in the Eurogantis expanse, is that of Cathitos. Home to a little over 1 million people at the time of the Dark Diaspora, this moon orbits a vast Saturnian-like analogue called Zolara, and it's actually a shepherd moon located within an expansive ring system, about 5 times more expansive than that of Saturn in Old Sol. This subjects the planet to regular constant bombardment and has meant that it lacks significant atmosphere, having been destroyed long ago, causing all settlements to be located either in enclosed surfaces and underground structures. The moon has mineral terrestrial resources outside of some geothermal power linked to tidal stresses caused by being a moon of Zolara. Instead, the majority of the resources of the planet's economy are sourced from scavenger teams, travelling through the ring system in small astrojets and extracting exotic crystalline metallic structures referred to as refraction clusters. These clusters of organically created metallic crystals, likely within the core of some form of moon that was broken up and formed the rings of the planet, provide incredible digital storage capabilities as well as energy refraction potential, and are superior to all forms of artificial crystalline manufacture. In fact, they are second only to the purposely grown resonance crystals of Kobca in their application to modern astrogation. Debore is the next world. It's located on the outer edge of the inner halo. This planet functions as a prairie-style larder world, providing naturally grown meat products from indigenous bison analogues that rove across the plains. While generally not as attractive as a protein source as terrestrial herds raised in the world of Aralok in the galactic southeast, exports from Debore to Galadur and other major hegemony worlds is prodigious, and the herd size regularly exceeds 20 million head per annum. Despite the original more agrarian lifestyle on the planet, the system has subsequently become the focus of considerable orbital military and industrial activity, as its proximity to the moon of Koton has made the planet a primary staging area for Galadur Navy forces operating within the wider region. Truna is also a larder world located near Ichvas and is less than 500,000 people strong. This small aquatic world has significant tides linked to its stellar orbit and comparatively small gravity. Like the Fringe World Alliance capital of Ozovan, the planet maintains a series of floating platforms, and Ozovan Enterprises and the Fringe World Alliance itself are actually investing in partnership with that of the Galadur Hegemony as a foreign authorized investor to facilitate the development of the planet. Species of Truna fish analogues are actually being exported as live seedlings to the aquaponic establishments on Ichvas, as well as genetically engineered and produced kelp species. And I know we said we're going to do 10 worlds, but I actually came up with an 11th. That, of course, is Vulia, which is home also to about 500,000 people. This I wanted to add in, not because it's a major world, but because it's actually something of an ignored lost world. It's a mycelial world that is located actually very close to Galadur itself, and was generally regarded as uninhabitable due to an incompatible mycelia biome and being subject to constant rainfall. Despite this, the planet was seeded with a population in the early parts of the scattering and has developed as something of an incredibly low socioeconomic backwater within the hegemony, and as a result was completely overlooked and ignored by hegemony authorities for decades. This is despite being aware then subsequently there was a population on the planet. And the fact that it actually sits very close to the hegemony world and well within the hegemony as a whole. Vulia authorities were actually one of the few to actively petition to become part of the hegemony, and are actually also one of the only planetary systems to be openly rejected for joining the hegemony by Galadur. This was, however, until the mycelial fibers that were grown from localized varieties of mushrooms were found to have significant potential in information transmission capabilities and could function as organic fiber optic conduits that could repair themselves over time. This, combined with some consumable mushroom varieties being available for export, led to the establishment of a very small orbital pod launching port facility, and the planet is almost exclusively serviced by automated pod. There are no toroid space stations servicing free flaggers or Galadur Navy, and the planet receives almost no free flagger or ship traffic each year, meaning that it remains highly isolated. The population of the planet live inside large hollowed out mushrooms, some of which stand hundreds of feet tall and have expansive caps that can be up to 1,000 feet in diameter, which create a protection from the elements and large enclosed spiraling living spaces within the stem of the mushroom. The walls of the mushroom and its fiber have been discovered to act as natural air filters and purifiers, and meaning that they actually breathe in the atmosphere from outside and allow the internal spaces to be somewhat breathable. This, combined with smaller varieties that can act as toxin purifiers, has resulted in the establishment of large fields of these mushrooms to be propagated to support long-term planetary terraforming through the extraction of hostile and dangerous chemicals from the atmosphere. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is where we're going to leave our first faction video for the Galadur hegemony. We're going to jump back in next time to explore the trade and economic attributes of the hegemony, and in particular its relationship with other powers. If you've enjoyed this first part of a multi-part faction series here on the channel, make sure you leave a like and also a comment below. And if there are any of the settings outlined today that you'd like me to dive into in a bit more detail in a future setting series, make sure you let me know in the comments and I'll add it to my list. But that is it for today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. Hope you'll have a wonderful day, and may the journey continue. Hey!